Okay, continuing from our previous video. So a pasture is twice as long as it is wide. Its area is that amount. How wide is the pasture? So because it tells me about the length, how long it is and how wide it is, this is a rectangle. And it's telling me that the area is 115,200 square feet. It says a pasture is twice as long as it is wide. So if this is the width and this is the length, then I can relabel my rectangle to illustrate that. So if this is the width, the length is twice as long, right? So this will be 2W. And my area, and the reason that I know, even if they didn't tell me that this the area, notice that the units are square. So those square units are units of area. So what's the area of a rectangle? The area of a rectangle is length times width. So in this case, we're going to have the area, 115,200, is equal to the length, which is 2W, times the width, which is W. So I'm going to have 115,200 equals 2W squared. And divide both sides by 2. So when I do that, I get 57,600 is W squared. And now we can use our knowledge of radicals to take the square root of both sides. So let's take the square root, and I'm going to have the square root of that is 240, but I took the square root of a variable, so I'm going to get plus or minus. So it's plus or minus 240 is W. But we are dealing with a rectangle, so length and width, so the length or the width cannot be negative. So we can ignore the negative because lengths are positive. So the width is 240. And always go back to the question, what was it asking you to find? It was asking us to find how wide is the pasture. So are we done? So this is the question. So with word problems, always focus on the question, how wide is the pasture? Yes, we are done because we found the width. Right? If had asked how long is the pasture, then I need to go back and plug it in for the length instead of for the width. So a second example, Ross invests 4,000 at 4% interest per year. How much additional money must he invest at 5.5% annual interest to ensure that the interest he receives each year is 4.5% of the total he invested? So these are the ones that probably when you were back in algebra, they gave you a little bit of trouble. Maybe, maybe not. So we are gonna break it down. Always focus on what are you being asked to find. So, and sometimes you may have to read the problem a few times. Sometimes it takes me 3, 4, 5 times to read a problem until I get everything that I need from it. If you're able to read the problem in one attempt and get everything that you need, that's amazing. If you have to read it twice, 3 times, like I said, 10 times, that's okay. It's every time you read it, you get more information from it. So Ross invests 4,000 at 4% interest per year. Okay. How much additional money must he invest? So here's my question. Right, with word problems, you always want to focus on the question. How much additional money must he invest at 5.5% annual interest? Okay. So that's what I'm looking for. So since I know now that that's what I'm looking for, I'm going to let X be the amount invested at 5.5%. As soon as I know what I'm looking for, I'm going to give it a variable. And then it says to ensure that the interest he receives each year is 4.5% of the total he invested. Okay, so we have lots of things going on here. So picture this. What is happening? So this person is taking $4,000, putting it in an account, and then It's going to take some sort of additional money, X amount, and it's going to invest it at 5.5%. And the goal is that at the end of the year, you want the combined amount to equate to earning 4.5% total. So there are three things going on here. So then there's a combination. So anytime you're combining two things, you're going to be essentially adding. So what Ross is doing here is his investment at 4% combined with his investment at 5.5%. We want that to be the same as the total investment at 4.5%. So the interest in the investment. So total investment at 4.5%. Right? How did I come up with that? Well, just reading the problem. Okay, we have, and try to picture the scenario. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a visual person, but I always try to like, okay, what is happening? How can I visualize this? So put yourself in this person's position. Okay, so you have $4,000 and you have it at 4%. You're coming up with some additional money at a different percentage. So now you have two amounts, but you're combining those. So there's your third amount. So combining those, you're adding them up to equal something else. So that's where the equals is coming in. Okay, so now what's the investment at 4%? He's investing $4,000 at 4%. So the interest earned, so the interest, maybe I should say the interest earned on each of these, because that's really what we're finding. So for the first amount is the $4,000 multiplied by the percent, just like we did in the previous video for how do you find interest earned in a year. You multiply the amount times the interest rate as a decimal. And then plus, now the investment earned at 5.5%. So how much did we invest at 5.5? We don't know. That's what we're looking for. But what did we call it? We called it X. So is the amount X times the interest rate as a decimal. So this is going to equal the total amount. So notice that in all of these we have that's the amount and that's the interest rate. That's the amount and that's the interest rate. So the same format should apply on this side. So I should have the amount and I should have the interest rate. So what is the amount? You're taking $4,000 and you're doing some additional amount and you're combining them. So if the additional amount was $2,000, what will be the total? It will be $6,000, right? If the additional amount was $5,000, then you have $9,000. So you're adding those. So here, the initial amount was $4,000 and we're adding X. So the total amount is going to be $4,000 plus X because you're combining those two amounts. And the interest earned as the interest rate is 0.045. Right? Percentage, just take that and divide it by 100 to convert it to a decimal. And so that's our equation. And so multiply those numbers out, and 4,000 times 0.04, that gives us 160 equals, oops, not equals, plus 0.055x equals, and now here we got to distribute. So 0.045 times 4,000 is 180 plus 0.045x. And now we have a linear equation. So we got to get the x's on one side and everything that doesn't have an x on the other. So I'm going to subtract the 160 from both sides. And can we do it in one step? Can you subtract the 0.045x? Do it all in one step. So those cancel and those cancel. So 0.055 minus 0.045 will give us a positive 0.010. So just 0.01x equals 180 minus 160 is 20. And then divide by 0.01. And we should get $2,000. So x equals 2,000. So let's go back to the question and see if we answered it. So it said, how much, so it's underlined here in red, how much additional money must he invest at 5.5% annual interest? Did we find the amount at 5.5%? Yes, X was the amount invested at 5.5%. Because this was a story problem, a word problem, so meaning it was asked to us in words, we want to make sure that we reply back in words. So we can say he should invest an additional $2,000 at 5.5%. And that will be your final answer. So whenever you're asked the word problem, the question's in words, you got to respond back in words. This section has lots and lots of word problems, so let me know if there's any particular one that you want me to do another video. But I encourage you to look at the different channels that I posted, or go to Khan Academy and search, so you can have some mixture problems, some distance, rate, and time problems. And if the videos that you find on your own are not so helpful, send me an email and I'll record a video on that particular problem. So if you need a mixture problem or a distance, rate, and time problem that you cannot find, that doesn't make sense online, let me know and I'll try to record it.